Usually when we talk about like a medical diagnosis, there is this expectation of absolute precision. You know what I mean? You break your arm, you go to the hospital, the x-ray shows that jagged white line on the screen, and the doctor just points and says, there it is. It's binary, it's clean, broken or not broken.
Right. It provides a sense of comfort, really. Human beings just naturally gravitate towards systems where things are visible, categorized and neatly defined by hard physical evidence.
Yeah, exactly. But then you step into the world of astrology, at least the pop culture version of it that most of us are familiar with, and suddenly that metaphorical x-ray machine is just completely broken. We're usually looking at a diagnostic landscape that is, well, let's be honest, it's murky. It's newspaper columns, vague personality traits, and predictions that could apply to, a million different people on any given Tuesday.
Which is exactly why so many analytical minds dismiss it entirely. It is often the absolute definition of diagnostic muddy waters.
Right. But that brings us to the mission of today's deep dive. We are looking at a system that claims to diagnose not just a broken bone, but your entire life. Your wealth, your hidden enemies, your career trajectory, and even the exact manner of your death, using the rigid geometry of the solar system.
It's quite a claim.
It really is. Welcome, everyone. Today we are decoding the foundational framework of Vedic astrology, an ancient system known as Jyotish. And let me tell you, for anyone who has ever felt overwhelmed by astrological charts or just dismissed them as arbitrary magic, this deep dive is going to serve as your ultimate decoder ring.
Definitely.
We have a massive stack of prediction notes in front of us, and we are going to break down the actual mathematics of the zodiac, how it's mapped visually across different regional charts, the intricate symbolism of the 12 signs, and the profound, shockingly practical meanings of the 12 houses, or Bhavas.
Okay, let's unpack this.
We have to start with the premise that this isn't magic, right?
Right. If we connect this to the bigger picture, Jyotish actually translates from Sanskrit to the science of light. The goal here is to demonstrate that the system we're examining today fundamentally differs from the vague mysticism you mentioned earlier.
Okay, how so?
Well, it operates with the precision of a celestial clock and calendar. It reflects human life through literal, observable astronomy. We are talking about mapping time and space with strict mathematical rigor.
Which means before we can read the map of a person's life, we have to understand the territory it actually represents. We have to begin with the sky itself. Looking at the source notes here, they refer to the geometry of the heavens using a really specific term, the Bhachakra.
Yes, the Bhachakra. It's the foundational concept. Pa relates to light, or the stars, and chakra means wheel. So we're talking about the zodiac belt.
A literal wheel of stars.
Exactly. I want you to imagine a perfect, unbroken 360-degree circle surrounding the Earth. This isn't just an abstract philosophical circle either. It is the literal ecliptic path, the apparent trajectory that the planets and the sun travel along from our physical vantage point here on Earth.
And the math surrounding this 360-degree belt is beautifully simple, but it dictates absolutely everything else we're going to talk about today. You take that 360-degree circle of the Bhachakra and you divide it by the 12 zodiac signs.
Right, and the order of these 12 signs is absolutely fixed.
So 360 divided by 12 equals exactly 30. That means every single sign gets a precise, non-negotiable 30-degree slice of the sky.
Yep. And this mathematical division is the bedrock of the entire architectural structure of the chart. Because these 12 signs eventually come to occupy the 12 houses in a horoscopic chart, it follows that each astrological house is also exactly 30 degrees.
It's just a perfect symmetrical division.
Exactly. It's a perfect division of the three-dimensional space surrounding us at any given moment.
Which brings us to a term that people hear all the time. They throw it around at dinner parties, but maybe they don't fully grasp the actual mechanics of it, the ascendant, or in Sanskrit, the lagna. According to our source material, the ascendant is defined as the specific zodiac sign that is rising on the eastern horizon at the exact time of your birth.
Let's visualize the mechanics of that for a second. Since there are 12 signs in our 360-degree wheel, there are 12 possible ascendants. This is where time, rather than just space, enters the equation.
Because the Earth is moving.
Right. The rotation of the Earth becomes the primary gear driving this whole cosmic clock.
Let's walk through that rotation so everyone can picture it. The Earth takes roughly 24 hours to complete one full spin on its axis. If you divide those 24 hours by the 12 signs of the zodiac, you get roughly 2 hours. That means the actual constellation physically coming up over the eastern horizon, clicks over to the next sign, roughly every 2 hours.
What's fascinating here is how inextricably linked this is to observable reality. The ascendant is, by definition, whatever is rising in the east. Think about the most prominent celestial body that rises in the east every single morning.
The sun.
The sun. Therefore, if a person is born at the exact moment of sunrise, the sun will always, without fail, be physically located in the ascendant sign, which correlates to the first house of their chart.
Wow, let's trace that out for the listener and make sure it clicks. As the day goes on, the Earth keeps spinning, so by sunset, the sun is doing the opposite. It's setting in the west. In the architecture of these charts, the west is represented by the 7th house, which sits exactly 180 degrees opposite the first house.
Right.
So if someone is born at sunset, particularly if they are geographically near the equator, the sun will be sitting right there in the 7th house. It's not a metaphor. It's a literal tracking of the sun's position relative to the horizon.
Exactly. It grounds the entire metaphysical practice in physical reality.
I want to offer an analogy here to help you, the listener, really visualize this moving sky because it's crucial for everything that follows. Think of the Bhachakra like a giant cosmic Ferris wheel. This Ferris wheel has 12 perfectly sized passenger cars, which represent the 12 signs.
That's a great way to picture it.
Because of the math we just discussed, each car takes up exactly 30 degrees of the wheel's circumference. Now, imagine you are standing on a spinning platform, the Earth, right in the dead center of this massive Ferris wheel. As you stand there and look out toward the eastern horizon, the platform you are standing on rotates. Because of that rotation, a brand new passenger car, a new 30-degree sign, aligns with your view of the eastern horizon every 2 hours.
I love that. I would add to that analogy that the Ferris wheel itself is also slowly turning over the course of a year, but for the purpose of the daily birth chart, your spinning platform in the center is the primary mechanism. And this highlights a critical point why the exact time of birth is so fiercely debated and heavily scrutinized in Jyotish.
Because if you get the time wrong by even a few minutes,
the entire system shifts. A difference of a few minutes could mean the platform has rotated just enough that the eastern horizon clicks over from the very end of one passenger car to the very beginning of the next.
oh wow.
Yeah, that changes the ascendant entirely. And because the ascendant is the anchor point, the first house changing it rotates the entire map of your life. Every subsequent house shifts to a new sign. The diagnosis completely changes. It truly is an astronomical snapshot requiring down-to-the-minute precision.
Okay, so we have this perfect 360-degree cosmic Ferris wheel in the sky. But here's where my brain starts to hurt on behalf of anyone trying to learn this. How do astrologers draw a 3-dimensional moving sky onto a flat 2-dimensional piece of paper?
That's the challenge of cartography, isn't it?
Right. This transitions us into the visual formats of horoscopes, the actual cartography of the cosmos. And looking at the notes, they didn't just agree on one universal way to draw it. There are 3 distinct regional styles outlined here: South Indian, North Indian, and East Indian. Why so many?
It really comes down to cultural preferences in data visualization. Think of it like using different operating systems on a computer, say Mac versus Windows. They are both processing the exact same internet, the exact same underlying binary code, but they present you with a completely different visual dashboard depending on what tasks the user prioritizes.
Okay, let's explore these dashboards. The notes start with the South Indian chart. Visually, it is drawn as a large square, and the perimeter of that square is divided into 12 smaller squares, leaving a blank space in the middle. The notes emphasize that the most crucial thing to understand about the South Indian chart is that it is a fixed sign chart.
Right. Let's define what fixed sign means in this context. It means the zodiac signs never, ever move their physical location on the piece of paper. No matter whose chart you're looking at, the box in the second position from the top left corner is always Aries. The box to its right is always Taurus, and it continues sequentially around the perimeter.
So if the signs are cemented in place like that, how do you show the ascendant? How do you show that 2-hour rotation we just talked about?
Well, because the signs are fixed in place, it's the houses that must become the movable elements. To indicate where the first house is the ascendant rising at the time of birth, the astrologer simply finds the box corresponding to that rising sign and marks it with 2 transverse lines, like 2 forward slashes.
Oh, I see. So if Leo was rising on the eastern horizon, they just find the permanently assigned Leo box and draw 2 lines in it.
Precisely. That marked box becomes house number 1. From there, you read the South Indian chart in a clockwise direction to find the second house, the third house, and so on around the perimeter. And a fascinating byproduct of this design is that astrologers who use it don't even bother numbering or writing the names of the signs, the boxes.
Really? They just leave it blank.
Yeah, they have the spatial locations memorized.
I mean, I see the utility in that. If you know exactly where Aries is on the paper at all times, it must be incredibly easy to track the actual movement of planets through the sky in real time.
Yeah.
You just visualize the planets moving from box to box.
Exactly. It's wonderful for tracking transits.
But then you look at the North Indian chart, and visually, it looks completely alien. It is drawn as a large square, but it has these internal diagonal lines crossing through it from corner to corner and connecting the midpoints. It creates 4 diamond shapes in the center and 8 triangular shapes around the edges. And conceptually, according to the notes, it operates completely backward to the South Indian chart.
It is the exact inverse. The North Indian chart is a movable sign chart, but the houses are fixed.
Meaning the geometry of the paper dictates the areas of life, rather than the constellations in the sky. The top center diamond shape in that drawing is always the first house. It is permanently the ascendant. It doesn't matter what sign was rising in the east when you were born. That top diamond is house number 1.
Therefore, because the houses are rigidly fixed in their visual locations, the zodiac signs themselves must rotate through those diamonds and triangles depending on the time of birth.
Oh.
So if you were born with Leo rising, you write the number 5 in that top diamond because Leo is the 5th sign. If you were born with Virgo rising, you write the number 6. You have to write a number in every single box to identify which sign has landed in which house.
And just to keep everyone on their toes, unlike the clockwise South Indian chart, the North Indian chart is read in an anti-clockwise direction.
I know it does seem counterintuitive at first glance, but consider why an astrologer might prefer this dashboard. By fixing the houses in place, they can instantly see the areas of a person's life without having to search around the paper.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, they look at the top diamond and instantly know, okay, that's the self, that's the ascendant. They look at the bottom diamond and instantly know that's the 4th house, the home and mother. The visual architecture prioritizes the human experience over the astronomical layout.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. The South Indian chart prioritizes the astronomical sky. The North Indian chart prioritizes the human life map. And just to add one more layer of complexity, the notes detail an East Indian style, also known as Oriya, Maithili, or Bengali style. Visually, it uses a central square with lines radiating out to the edges. It seems to be a hybrid.
It is very much a hybrid system. Like the South Indian chart, the East Indian chart fixes the zodiac signs in specific, unmoving places on the paper.
Yeah.
But borrowing from the North Indian logic, it is read sequentially in an anti-clockwise direction.
Okay, I have to ask on behalf of the listener. If we are all looking at the exact same sky, the exact same mathematical Bhachakra, doesn't having 3 entirely different regional ways to draw it just create unnecessary tribalism? Is one of these formats objectively better or more accurate than the others?
It's a very natural question to ask, especially coming from a modern perspective where, standardization is just expected. But I can assure you that neither format is better or more accurate. They are merely different lenses focusing on the exact same data.
So the output is the same.
Exactly. It doesn't change the diagnosis. It only changes how the doctor looks at the X-ray. An expert can read any of the 3 and arrive at the exact same conclusion regarding a person's life.
Okay, so we've built the 360-degree sky, we understand the Earth's rotation creating the ascendant, and we have the varied paper maps to draw it on. Having laid out the theater and the stage, it is time to meet the actors who inhabit this cosmic wheel. We are going to take a deep dive into the 12 zodiac signs.
This is where it gets really symbolic.
And I want to warn you, the listener, the level of detail in these prediction notes is astonishing. We aren't just talking about a vague animal symbol and a ruling planet. We are talking about specific physical environments, highly specific colors, and literally mapping the entirety of human anatomy onto these 12 slices of the sky.
Yes, this brings us to one of the most profound concepts in Jyotish, the Kalapurecha, which translates roughly to the cosmic man or time personified.
The cosmic man.
Right. The underlying philosophy here is that the entire macrocosm of the universe is perfectly mirrored in the microcosm of the physical human body. As we move sequentially through the signs from Aries to Pisces, we will literally travel down the human body from the crown of the head all the way down to the soles of the feet.
As above, so below. Okay, let's trace this anatomy. We start at the beginning, the first sign, Aries. According to the notes, the symbol is the ram, a quadruped. It is ruled by the fiery planet Mars. In terms of the physical body of the cosmic man, Aries represents the head and the brain. I'm looking at these correlations. How does a constellation millions of miles away relate to human biology?
Let's unpack the logic behind the symbolism. Consider the nature of the ram. It's an animal that leads and charges headfirst into obstacles. Now consider Mars, its ruling planet. In this system, Mars is the celestial commander, the planet of raw action, initiation, courage, and warfare.
Okay.
Where does the initiation of all human action begin? It begins in the head, in the brain. It is the command center.
That's fascinating. The notes also specify that the physical environments associated with Aries are hills and grasslands, rough, elevated terrain. And its assigned color is a vibrant blood red.
The synergy there is undeniable. Hills are elevated, just as the head is elevated on the body. Grasslands are where rams graze and fight. And the color blood red ties directly back to Mars, the red planet representing vitality, blood flow to the brain, and raw, initiating physical energy. Aries is the spark of existence.
Moving down from the head, we reach the second sign, Taurus. The symbol is the bull, and we shift rulers from Mars to Venus. Correspondingly, moving down the body, Taurus represents the face and the neck.
Right, so we shift from the fiery spark of Mars to the grounded, earthly nature of Venus. Venus brings a softer, more stabilizing energy. The bull is a creature of the earth, steady, strong, and enduring. It doesn't charge wildly like the ram, it plows the field.
Which explains the environments listed here: farmlands and villages, places of cultivation, settling down, and sustained slow growth.
Precisely. Aries is the spark of the nomad. Taurus is the settling of the farmer. The face is how we are recognized by our village, how we express our grounded identity. The color assigned is white.
Why white?
This represents purity, clarity, and historically perhaps the milk of the cattle that sustain these early villages. It's an earth sign, entirely focused on what is tangible, sustaining, and visually harmonious, reflecting Venus's rulership.
Then we hit the third sign, Gemini, and the entire paradigm shifts. The symbol is no longer an animal, it is the twins, making it a human sign. We shift rulership to Mercury. And continuing our anatomical descent, Gemini represents the arms and the shoulders. Why the arms?
To understand this, we must look at Mercury. Mercury is the planet of communication, intellect, exchange, and commerce. The twins symbolize duality, the back and forth of dialogue, the weighing of two options, the interaction between self and other.
And the arms fit into that how?
Well, the arms and hands are literally how we reach out into the world. They are how we gesture to communicate, how we trade goods, how we manipulate our environment.
Oh, that makes total sense. Now, the notes on the physical environments for Gemini are fascinating. It lists gardens and casinos. Casinos, that really stood out to me. Ancient astrological texts talking about casinos.
I know, it sounds modern, but the underlying concept is ancient. Casinos or gambling halls are places of rapid exchange, games of chance, calculating probabilities, and high mental stimulation.
So, totally Mercury.
Exactly. They are places of nervous, active energy where fortunes change hands quickly. That is purely mercurial. Gardens, similarly, represent cultivated variety and social gathering spaces. The color for Gemini is grass green, reflecting flexibility, growth, and the vibrant, sometimes erratic energy of spring.
From the hyper-intellectual air of Gemini, we plunge into the fourth sign, Cancer. The symbol is the crab. It is explicitly labeled a Jelcha or watery sign, and it is ruled by the moon. Moving down the Kalapurusha, Cancer rules the chest and the upper heart.
This is a profound shift inward. The moon, in this system, governs the deepest emotions, the subconscious mind, and the archetype of the mother. Think about the physical anatomy of the crab. It is a creature that carries its home on its back.
Right.
It has an incredibly soft, vulnerable interior, which it protects fiercely with a hard, calcified outer shell.
That sounds exactly like human emotional defense mechanisms. We build hard shells to protect our soft cores.
Exactly. And ruling the physical chest and the upper heart aligns perfectly with this. The chest is where we hold our breath in fear, where we feel the physical ache of heartbreak, and anatomically, it houses the heart and lungs behind a hard cage of ribs. It is the center of nurturing, maternal, and emotionally sensitive energy.
And the environments.
Its environments are, naturally, watery places, rivers, lakes, shores. The color is pale red, which is a softer, more diffuse, perhaps more vulnerable iteration of the Aries blood red.
The narrative arc here is just amazing. From the vulnerable, watery crab, we emerge into the blazing light of the fifth sign, Leo. The symbol is the lion. It is ruled not by a planet, but by the sun itself. Continuing down the body, Leo represents the heart and the stomach.
If the moon is the mother, the sun is the king. It is the literal center of our solar system, the celestial body around which everything else orbits. The lion is universally recognized as the king of the jungle.
So Leo is the king.
Right. Therefore, Leo ruling the physical heart, the literal central pump that sustains all biological life, and the stomach, the center of our physical vitality and core strength, makes total physiological sense.
The environments listed for Leo in the notes are forests, caves, and this is the detail. I love the residence of sages. That feels contradictory to me. You think of a lion as a roaring beast seeking attention, but a sage seeks isolation.
That is a brilliant observation, and it points to a deeper understanding of Leo than you find in pop astrology. Leo isn't just about a loud, roaring ego demanding applause. At its highest vibration, the sun represents the soul. A king must possess a kind of solitary, dignified sovereignty.
Ah, I see.
Yes, sages seek isolation in caves or deep forests, not to hide, but to find their inner light, their inner sun, without the distraction of society. The color associated with Leo is white, again pointing to the blinding, purifying, all-encompassing light of the sun.
Okay, descending further down the gut, we reach the sixth sign, Virgo. The symbol is the maiden or virgin. We return to the rulership of Mercury. And physically, Virgo represents the lower gut and the big intestine. I want to pause here because this highlights a beautiful symmetry. Mercury rules Gemini, which is the arms, and Virgo, the intestines. What is the connection?
It is a masterclass in the dual nature of planets. Mercury represents processing information. In Gemini, an air sign, Mercury uses the arms to gather information from the outside world, pulling it in through social interaction and commerce.
Okay, and Virgo.
In Virgo, an earth sign, Mercury turns that analytical processing inward. What does the lower gut and big intestine do? It takes the raw material we have consumed, breaks it down with microscopic precision, absorbs the essential nutrients, and separates it from the waste.
Wow. Virgo is literally digesting and systemizing reality.
Precisely. It is focused on details, purity, and systemization. The environments listed are diverse hills, water, and land, and the color is variegated, meaning multicolored, patched, or mixed.
Why variegated?
Because Virgo is a mutable earth sign representing the harvest. It deals with the sheer complexity and myriad details of the natural world. A harvest is a mixture of many different crops, colors, and textures, all needing to be sorted and organized.
That's incredible. Well, we have reached the halfway point of the zodiac and the body, arriving at the seventh sign, Libra. The symbol is uniquely inanimate, a man holding scales. We return to the rulership of Venus. On the body of the cosmic man, Libra rules the reproductive organs.
Again, observe the dual rulership here. Venus ruled the face in Taurus, representing grounded individual beauty. Here in Libra, an air sign, Venus rules harmony, balance, and the aesthetics of partnership. The scales represent justice, diplomacy, and the constant weighing of different sides to find equilibrium.
And in the context of the physical body, how do the reproductive organs fit into diplomacy and scales? I'm having trouble seeing the link.
It's because reproduction is the ultimate biological symbol of creation through partnership. It requires the coming together of two opposite forces to create a new, balanced whole. It is the physiological manifestation of the other.
That makes perfect sense. The environments for Libra are very human-centric, very social marketplaces, malls, and cities, places where people come together specifically to trade, socialize, and weigh value against value. And the color is black. I would have expected like pink or pastel for Venus, but black.
Think about what black is in terms of light. It is the absorption of all colors. This reflects Libra's attempt to take in all perspectives, to absorb all sides of an argument in order to find absolute balance. It's also a stark, sophisticated contrast to the simple white of Taurus, Venus's other-ruled sign.
Now we cross a major threshold into the eighth sign, Scorpio. The symbol is the scorpion. We return to the rulership of Mars. For the body, it represents the genitalia. Let's unpack the difference between Libra and Scorpio here because they are anatomically adjacent.
While Libra governs the partnership and contractual aspect of reproduction, Scorpio represents the raw, hidden, potentially dangerous, and transformative power of it.
Okay, that makes sense with Mars.
Exactly. Mars, ruling Scorpio, brings that intense, survivalist, primal energy. Scorpions are not social creatures like the scales in a marketplace. They are solitary creatures that hide in the dark and strike with a potent sting.
The environments listed reflect that hidden danger exactly: holes, crevices, and dark, dingy places. The color is reddish-brown. It's like the bright blood red of Aries has been dragged through the mud.
That's a great way to put it. It is an earthier, darker, much more concealed version of Martian energy. Aries is the soldier charging on the open battlefield. Scorpio is the spy operating in the shadows.
Okay, I want to slow down and unpack this next one very carefully because here is where the source notes provided an absolute revelation for me. The ninth sign, Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter. When you look at modern horoscopes, they just say Sagittarius is an archer or a centaur, half man, half horse. But the notes have a crucially specific detail.
Right, the split.
Yes, the symbol is mathematically split based on the degrees of the 30-degree slice. It says that from 0 to 15 degrees, the symbol is strictly an archer, but from 15 to 30 degrees, the symbol is strictly a horse. They are separated. Here's where it gets really interesting. Why is this distinction so important?
Because it is a prime example of the extreme philosophical precision of Jyotish. It's not just a blended mythological centaur. It is literally divided into two evolutionary halves, representing a transition in consciousness.
Okay, break that down for me.
The first half is human the archer. It aims high, it calculates, it seeks purpose and higher meaning. The second half is animalistic the horse. It is raw, muscular power, driven by instinct to run and conquer territory.
And this maps perfectly onto the physical body because Sagittarius represents the thighs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The thighs contain the largest, most powerful muscles in the human body. They are the engines we use for running, for propelling ourselves forward. Jupiter, the ruling planet, represents expansion, wisdom, the guru, and a broader philosophy.
So they work together.
Right. Sagittarius is the process of using the raw, animalistic power of the horse's thighs to carry the human intellect, the archer, toward a higher philosophical target.
The environments are a mix of both halves, jungles and horse stables for the animal half, and war fields for the aiming archer. The color is tawny, a yellowish brown, like the hide of a horse or a lion. I love that split symbol concept, and it continues right into the 10th sign, Capricorn.
Yes, and this one is even more surprising to most people.
Ruled by the slow, heavy planet Saturn. Again, the notes are incredibly specific about the geometry. From 0 to 15 degrees, the symbol is an elephant. From 15 to 30 degrees, it is a crocodile. I've literally never heard that before. Every pop astrology book just says Capricorn is a sea goat.
The sea goat is a Western simplification that completely loses the profound terror and power of the original symbolism. An elephant and a crocodile are vastly different creatures, yet what do they have in common? They both represent immense, slow-moving, practically unstoppable ancient power.
Let's break down the two halves.
The first 15 degrees, the elephant, is land-based. Elephants are known for carrying immense weight, moving slowly but deliberately, and possessing incredible memory. This represents the heavy, enduring effort required to build structures in the material world.
And the crocodile.
The second 15 degrees, the crocodile, is a watery predator. It is ancient, resembling a dinosaur. It is infinitely patient, lurking just below the surface, capable of snapping its jaws and dragging anything down into the murky depths.
Wow. And anatomically, Capricorn represents the knees.
Saturn is the planet of restriction, hard work, boundaries, and the cold reality of the material world. Think about the function of knees. Our knees bear the physical weight of our entire body as we climb the metaphorical mountain of life. They are the joints that allow us to labor. Crucially, they are also where we bend in submission. Submission to authority, submission to gravity, submission to reality.
The environments are forests and lands, again pointing to heavy earth. And the color is variegated, just like Virgo, but here perhaps showing the complex layered strata of the earth and the material hierarchy.
Exactly.
Approaching the end now, the 11th sign is Aquarius. The symbol is the water bearer. It is also ruled by Saturn. For the body, it represents the ankles and the calf. I struggle to connect Saturn, the planet of restriction, to a guy pouring water.
We have to look at the element. While Capricorn is Saturn's rigid earth sign, Aquarius is Saturn's air sign. Air signs deal with intellect and society. Aquarius isn't about building a personal empire. It is about building systems, networks, and structures for society as a whole.
Oh, I see.
The water bearer is not pouring water for himself. He is distributing a vital resource to the collective. The ankles and calves are what support us when we stand in a group, when we march together.
The environments listed in the notes are genuinely fascinating. Deep water, casinos, there's that word again, and utensil racks. Utensil racks. It seems incredibly mundane and random.
It seems random until you look at the actual mechanism of a utensil rack. What is it? It is a highly structured, rigid framework Saturn, designed to hold various vessels, water bearers, that contain water or food for a group of people.
Wait, really? That's what it means?
Yes. It is the literal architecture of distribution. That is the essence of Aquarius, creating the grid that supports the community. The color is deep brown, perhaps representing the dense networks of roots underground.
Finally, we reach the end of the cosmic man, the 12th sign, Pisces. The symbol is two fishes swimming in opposite directions. We return to the expansive rulership of Jupiter. And fittingly, as the final sign, it represents the feet.
We have traveled the entire physical and evolutionary journey, from the aggressive head of Aries down to the feet of Pisces. The feet are our foundation. They connect us to the ground, yet they are also incredibly sensitive and vulnerable.
Why are the two fishes swimming in opposite directions?
It represents the profound duality at the end of the soul's journey. One fish is swimming back toward the wheel of the zodiac, toward worldly completion and starting the cycle over again. The other fish is swimming away out into the infinite, toward spiritual liberation and the dissolution of the ego.
Which perfectly aligns with the environments, oceans, and holy places, places of vastness where the individual drop of water loses its identity in the sea.
And that brings the Kalapurusha full circle. Hopefully you can see that the 12 signs are not merely magazine personality quizzes. They are an intricately woven map of human anatomy, physical environments, evolutionary psychology, and planetary rulership.
Okay, so if the 12 signs are the actors with their very specific costumes, psychologies, and body parts, the 12 houses, the Bhavas, are the specific stages where the drama of life unfolds. We are shifting from mapping the physical body to mapping the chronology of the human experience.
A very important transition.
The source notes provide an incredible breakdown of these 12 houses. Let's trace a human life from birth, starting with the first house.
The first house is traditionally called the Tanu Bhav. The Sanskrit word Tanu means body. This house is inextricably linked to the ascendant we discussed earlier. It signifies your most outward appearance, your baseline character, your general state of health, and your core personality.
So it maps conceptually to Aries, representing the head and brain.
Yes, it represents your innate intellect, your physical vitality, and your overall capacity to experience joy and sorrow in this lifetime. It is the absolute foundation of who you are, your honor in the world, and fundamentally, how you secure your livelihood by just being yourself.
Okay, so you are born. You have a physical body in the first house. What happens next? You move to the second house, the Kutum, Dhan, and Sanskar Bhav.
Let's translate those terms. Kutum means extended family or lineage. Dhan translates directly to wealth. Sanskar refers to early upbringing and values.
That's a lot for one house.
Well, the logic is sequential. Once you exist physically, the first house, you immediately need resources to survive. Therefore, this house signifies accumulated wealth, tangible assets, and your bank balance.
But the notes also say it rules speech, taste, the mouth, and oral health, specifically ENT, ear, nose, throat. How does wealth connect to the throat?
Think of it purely in terms of intake and output of resources. It is the family kutum that physically feeds you mouth, taste, and teaches you your first word speech. The second house governs the resources you take in to sustain your body, both material wealth and food, and what comes out of your mouth, your speech and values.
So you have a body and you are fed. Then we step into the third house, the Sahaj or Parakram Bhav. This is where the toddler starts running around and taking action. It signifies courage, individual efforts, and co-borns, which means your siblings.
Right, the immediate environment.
Exactly. It rules neighbors, short journeys, and hobbies. And here is where the source notes get wonderfully specific again. It explicitly signifies initiatory instructions, manuscripts, artisans, shoulders, and the army commander-chief. Explain the army chief to me.
Well, parakram means valor, prowess, or sustained effort. This house is entirely about your personal agency. How do you assert your will upon your immediate environment? You use your hands and shoulders literally to build things as an artisan, or metaphorically, to push through obstacles.
And the manuscripts.
Manuscripts and initiatory instructions represent your early learning and how you communicate your will. The army commander-chief is not the king who sits on the throne. It is the tactician on the ground who executes the action, who wields the sword. The third house represents your tactical, day-to-day courage.
You've exerted your effort, and now you return to the fourth house, the Sukh Bhav. Sukh translates to happiness, comforts, or peace. This is your home life, your mother, your homeland, and the actual physical house you live in. The notes also rule conveyance and vehicular comfort, as well as hidden treasure.
The fourth house sits at the very bottom of the chart. Geometrically, it is the midnight point, directly under the earth. Therefore, it represents your deepest emotional foundation, which is primarily provided by the mother and the security of the home environment.
And the vehicles.
Vehicles provide physical comfort and act as a moving private home as you travel through the world. The concept of hidden treasure is deeply metaphorical and literal. It implies that which is buried deep within your foundations, whether it's emotional resilience buried in your subconscious or literal wealth buried beneath the earth of your ancestral home.
Moving up from the private foundation of the home, we burst into the fifth house, the Santayan, Buddhi, and Prithpunya Bhav. Santan means children, Buddhi means intellect. This house sounds incredibly vibrant. It rules love affairs, entertainment, romance, creation, and mental health.
It's a very dynamic house.
Yeah, but it also rules sacred mantras, Vivek, which the notes define as deep wisdom or discernment, education, speculation, memory, and the ability to manage complex affairs. It's a massive portfolio.
It is the house of individual, joyful expression. Proof punya is a vital concept. It means past life credit or inherent merit. The fifth house represents your creative intelligence, the divine spark that makes you unique.
And that spark can manifest in so many ways.
Precisely. It can manifest biologically as creating children. It can manifest romantically as love affairs. It can manifest financially as the thrill of speculation and investments in the stock market. Or it can manifest spiritually as the chanting of sacred mantras and the attainment of deep wisdom. It is all fundamentally about the joy of bringing something new out of yourself.
But the joy of creation eventually meets the harsh friction of the real world in the sixth house, the Ari, Rag, Rin, and Ripu Bhav. And these Sanskrit words carry heavy weight. Rag means sickness, Rin means debt, Ripu means enemies.
It's often considered a difficult house.
The notes say this house signifies sickness, servants, subordinates, daily routine, vices, debt, loans, litigation, lawyers, and doctors. It also surprisingly mentions the maternal family. Why is this house so difficult?
Because the sixth house is where the ego must deal with the friction of material existence. It is the daily grind. Think about the words, sickness is biological friction in the physical body. Debt is mathematical friction in your finances. Litigation and enemies are social friction in society.
And the servants, doctors, and lawyers.
Those are the mechanisms we use to manage the friction. You hire subordinates and establish daily routines to manage your workload. You need doctors to manage the sickness, and you hire lawyers to fight the litigation. It is a house of practical, often difficult problem-solving and service.
Okay, once you have learned to navigate the daily struggles of the sixth house, you look directly across the chart, from yourself to the seventh house, the Vyay Bhav. This is the house of the spouse, marriage, partnerships, society, social life, trade, journeys, and the intimate secrets of sexual life.
Look at the geometry here. If the first house is the self, the seventh house, sitting exactly 180 degrees opposite, represents the other. It is the mirror.
So anyone you partner with.
Right. It governs anyone with whom you enter into a binding, legal, or deeply intimate contract. That could be a marriage contract, or it could be a formal business partnership. It is how you leave your isolated self and engage with the wider society on a one-to-one basis. Trade, fundamentally, is the ultimate exchange with the other.
And from the negotiated partnership of the seventh, we cross the threshold into the most shadowy realm of the chart, the eighth house, the Randa Bhav. The significations listed here are intense and mysterious. Longevity, hidden enemies, obstruction, samadhi, deep meditation, tantra, and the occult.
Very deep topics.
But right next to that, it lists incredibly modern bureaucratic things: unearned income, inheritance, wills, fundamental research, insurance payouts, and winning the lottery. It also rules the exact cause of death, suddenness, and profound surprises. How do you reconcile tantra with an insurance payout?
You have to understand the root word. Randra means a hole, a chasm, or a deep vulnerability. The eighth house represents sudden, massive, unearned transformations that alter the landscape of your life instantly.
Death being the ultimate sudden transformation.
Exactly, which is why it rules longevity and the manner of physical death. But let's look at the finances. Inheritance, an insurance payout after a disaster, or winning the lottery, these are sudden, massive influxes of wealth that you didn't earn through daily grinding effort like you do in the sixth house. They come from the void, often triggered by a crisis.
And the research and occult aspects.
Tantra and fundamental research are both processes of digging deep into the dark, unknown chasms of reality to extract hidden truths and power. It is the house of the profound, the taboo, and the unexpected crisis that forces rebirth.
Surviving the psychological death of the eighth house brings you into the light of the ninth house, the Vyay Bhav. Bhagya means fortune, luck, or destiny. This house signifies your fortunes, the guru, the father, religion, pilgrimages, long journeys, and deep philosophy.
It's a house of expansion.
And again, the notes offer hyper-specific details: the embassy, the seal of a gazette officer, visas, and higher knowledge.
This is where we see ancient astrological concepts seamlessly map onto the architecture of modern bureaucratic life. The ninth house is fundamentally about higher law, expanding your horizons and seeking grace.
So in ancient times, that meant finding a guru, studying religion, and physically walking on a long pilgrimage.
Yes. And today, expanding your horizons globally means getting a visa from a foreign embassy to go on a long journey. The seal of a Gazette officer, or a judge, represents the blessing of the highest societal authority, which is a modern legal parallel to receiving the spiritual blessing of the guru or the father. It is about aligning yourself with higher principles.
Armed with that higher knowledge and luck, you reach the absolute peak of the chart, the 10th house, the Tanu Bhav. Karam meaning action or significant deed. This signifies authority, bosses, honor, fame, public image, positional power, and your ultimate profession.
Geometrically, this is the midheaven. It is the highest point the sun reaches in the sky. Therefore, it is how the entire world sees you.
So how does that differ from the 6th house?
I'm glad you asked. I want to distinguish this from the 6th house. The 6th house is your daily grinding job. The 10th house is your career arc, your legacy, the status you achieve, and the authority you either wield over others or must submit to. It is your maximum visible impact on the world.
After putting in a lifetime of work in the 10th house, you finally reap the rewards in the 11th house, the Bhav. Love means gains, profit, or expansion. This signifies your income, your friends, your wider social circle, your hopes, wishes, desires, and your overall attitude towards humanity. Curiously, the notes also specifically mention it represents the sun's wife.
The 11th house is the realization and enjoyment of your goals. You have climbed the mountain of the 10th, and now you receive your income and gather your large network of friends around you to celebrate. It is the house of large social groups and humanitarian ideals.
What about the sun's wife? That feels so random to me.
It's actually a beautiful demonstration of how the houses interact dynamically using a principle called Vyay Bhav, or the house from a house. We established that the 5th house represents your children, the sun. The 7th house from any given house represents the spouse of that house.
Okay, I follow.
If you count 7 houses away from the 5th house, you land exactly on the 11th house. Therefore, the 11th house signifies the spouse of your child, your son's wife. The chart is a fractal. It describes every facet of your extended reality.
That is mind-bending. Which brings us to the final stage, the end of the line, the 12th house, the Vyay Bhav. Vyay means expenses, loss, or exit. This house rules expenses, trials, confinement, exile, limitations, prisons, hospitals, detention centers, asylums, and absolute seclusion. It sounds terrifying, but it also rules foreign travel, retreating to a guru's ashram, and bedroom pleasures.
We end our human journey here, just as we ended the physical body at the feet in Pisces. The 12th house is entirely about letting go of the material world and the ego.
And that letting go can happen in two ways, right? Forced or voluntary.
Exactly. It can be a forced letting go, which manifests as severe financial expenses, being locked in a prison, or being confined to a hospital bed where you lose your bodily autonomy.
The voluntary way.
Or it can be a voluntary, elevated letting go. You choose to retreat to a guru's ashram for silent meditation. You travel to a foreign land where nobody knows your name and your ego is erased. Or, the most common daily escape, the private, secluded surrender of the bedroom and sleep. It is the dissolution of the self before the cosmic cycle begins again.
If you are listening to this and trying to absorb all 12 of these stages, take a breath. Because what we have to do next is look at how these houses group together. Having seen what each house represents individually, the prediction notes provide structural classifications. They group the houses to show the underlying architecture of a human life.
Yes, the houses are grouped into specific geometric and philosophical categories that describe their energetic function and priority in your life.
Let's start with the most important group, the pillars, known in Sanskrit as the Kendras, or Quadrants. These are the 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th houses.
Think of a grand square building. These 4 houses are the 4 massive load-bearing pillars holding the roof up.
So the key foundations.
Right. The 1st is your physical self, the 4th is your private home, the 7th is your marriage or partnership, and the 10th is your public career. If these 4 pillars are strong and well supported by positive planets, the foundation of the person's life is inherently stable, regardless of what happens in the other rooms.
Then we have the trines, or Trikon houses. These are the 1st, 5th, and 9th houses.
If the Kendras are the pillars of effort and structure, the Trikonas are the houses of grace, fortune, and natural unearned talent. They form a harmonious triangle in the chart.
Like the lucky houses.
Essentially, yes. The 1st is your natural disposition, the 5th is your inherent creative intelligence and past life merit, and the 9th is your sheer luck, fate, and higher wisdom. When planets are placed here, they usually prosper effortlessly.
The notes also classify the houses by linking them to the 4 ancient goals of human life, known as the Purusharthas. This is where the system gets deeply philosophical. The Dharma houses are 1, 5, and 9. They are associated with Brahmacharya, which is student life, or the discovery of duty.
Dharma is your true purpose, your righteous ethical path in the universe. Notice that these are the exact same houses as the Trikon as we just discussed. The 1st, 5th, and 9th houses guide your internal moral compass, your pursuit of education, and your ultimate wisdom. They're about discovering who you are meant to be.
Next are the Earth houses, 2, 6, and 10. They are associated with Grishta, the householder life, and the accumulation of material wealth.
Artha translates to material security and resources. Look at the houses. The 2nd is your bank account and family. The 6th is your daily work and management of debts. And the 10th is your career status. These are the pragmatic, boots-on-the-ground realities of maintaining a physical life and supporting a family in the material world.
Then we move to the calm houses 3, 7, and 11. Associated with Venprastha, which the notes link to dealing with desires and retreat.
Kama is desire, connection, and pleasure. The 3rd house is your hobbies and local interactions. The 7th is your primary intimate partnership and sexual desires. And the 11th is your wider social circle and the ultimate fulfillment of your worldly wishes. It is how you seek enjoyment and connection.
And finally, the moksha houses 4, 8, and 12. Associated with sannyas, meaning complete liberation, renunciation, or letting go.
Moksha is the ultimate goal, spiritual liberation from the cycle of rebirth. Look at these houses. The 4th is finding inner emotional peace. The 8th is facing death and the transformation of your deepest fears. And the 12th is the final surrender of the ego.
They pull you away from the world.
Exactly. These 3 houses consistently pull your energy away from material ambition and toward internal spiritual liberation.
The notes detail a few more nuanced structural classifications. The Panfara, or succeedant houses, are 2, 5, 8, and 11. The Apocalypse, or cadent houses, are 3, 6, 9, and 12. But the ones I really want to focus on are the houses of growth versus the houses of suffering. Let's look at the Trishadae 3, 6, 11, and the Upshay houses 3, 6, 10, 11.
Upshay translates literally to houses of growth or improvement. This is a very encouraging concept. It means that planets placed in the 3rd, 6th, 10th, and 11th houses tend to improve and get stronger over time as you age.
So they get better.
Yes. They require initial struggle, intense effort, or overcoming early obstacles, but they yield substantial compounding growth and gains as you mature. They reward hard work.
But then there are the Trikpavas, the 6th, 8th, and 12th houses. These are traditionally known as the challenging, evil, or suffering houses. The 6th is disease, the 8th is death and crisis, the 12th is loss and isolation.
Right. These are the houses that disrupt the smooth, easy flow of life. They introduce friction. However, from a spiritual perspective, they are vital because they force us to adapt, to suffer, to dig deep, and ultimately to transform.
Okay, if you're listening to this and trying to synthesize all this information, stick with us for this final classification because this is a paradox that really made me stop in my tracks. The notes detail the Marak Bhavas. They explicitly define the 2nd and 7th houses as the Marak, or death-inflicting killer houses. Hold on a second. We just established at length that the 7th house is the house of marriage and partnerships.
We did.
And the 2nd house is your accumulated wealth, your food, and your family. How on earth can the houses of your spouse and your money, the things most people want most in life, be classified as killer houses? How does the underlying logic support that?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it reveals the profound, almost devastatingly accurate philosophy at the heart of Jyotish. First, let's look at the pure mathematical logic of the wheel. We established that the 8th house is the house of longevity and life force. In this astrological system, the 12th house from any given house represents the loss, expense, or negation of that specific house.
Okay, I'm following the math.
If you count 12 houses starting from the 8th house of longevity, you land exactly on the 7th house. Therefore, mathematically, the 7th house represents the loss or negation of longevity.
Wow, okay.
Similarly, the 3rd house is also considered a house of vitality because it's the 8th house counting from the 8th house. If you count 12 houses from the 3rd house, you land on the 2nd house. So mathematically, the 2nd and 7th are rigid negators of life force.
Okay, the math is consistent and clever. But philosophically, how does my bank account or my marriage kill me?
Philosophically, you have to look at it from the perspective of the soul seeking moksha, or ultimate liberation. What ties a human being most strongly to the illusion of the material world? What creates the strongest gravitational pull keeping your ego anchored to this physical plane? It is your accumulated wealth and your physical family, the 2nd house, And it is your spouse, your worldly partnerships, and your sexual desires, the 7th house.
They are the ultimate attachments.
Exactly. They're the supreme attachments. And the pursuit of ultimate spiritual liberation, these attachments are what kill your spiritual progress. When faced with death, it is the thought of leaving behind our wealth, our spouses, and our families that causes us the most agony and makes us cling to the physical body.
That is wow.
The things that make human life beautiful, comfortable, and worth living are, from a purely cosmic, spiritual perspective, the very anchors weighing down the soul.
That is incredibly heavy, but it makes perfect sense within the framework. It shows the incredible duality of the Jyotish system. It charts both how to succeed brilliantly within the material illusion, how to gain wealth and partnerships, and simultaneously warns you how that very illusion traps you and kills your spiritual ascent.
It is a complete map of both the human trap and the human escape route.
To briefly recap the incredible journey we've been on today, we started by looking at an astronomical 360-degree belt in space, the Bhachakra. We saw how the exact minute of your birth freezes the spinning Earth to create the ascendant. We explored how astrologers take that 3D math and draw it onto South, North, and East Indian regional charts, changing the interface but preserving the data.
Right.
We met the 12 deeply symbolic signs, tracing them anatomically from the aggressive ram's head of Aries all the way down to the dual fishes at the feet of Pisces. And finally, we mapped out the chronology of the human journey through the 12 houses, from the physical birth of the self in the 1st house to the final dissolution and surrender in the 12th.
We have successfully decoded the basic grammar and vocabulary of the cosmic canvas. We now have the tools to actually read the map.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you, the listener, with a philosophical question inspired by this source material. We just spent an hour proving that the 12 signs map perfectly onto our physical human body from head to toe, and we showed how the 12 houses map perfectly onto our chronological life journey, from birth through wealth, disease, marriage, and finally to isolation and liberation. If this mathematical system is truly reflective of reality, does the cosmic canvas suggest that we aren't just living in the universe, but that the universe is literally mirrored inside our biology and our life experiences?
It's a profound thought.
As above, so below. Are you a tiny universe walking around on Earth? It is definitely something to think about the next time you step outside and look up at the night sky. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.